Okay, so about 2 months ago, I bought the Samsung Galaxy A52 because I knew that this phone has a 120Hz screen. And since the last time I used a phone with 120Hz was more than a year ago, I was really excited to finally use one again. So naturally, after quickly setting up this phone, the first thing I did was I went to the settings app and went to display settings in the hopes to enable 120Hz. Obviously because I thought it wasn't enabled by default. But then I saw this and realized that it was on the whole time. This seriously surprised me because from the first 2 to 3 minutes of me using this phone, I just couldn't tell the screen was already set to 120Hz. And the worst part was that, again, this wasn't even the first time I was using a phone with a high refresh rate screen. If anything, I should have been able to tell whether or not the screen was already refreshing at 120Hz, but I couldn't. And that got me thinking, maybe 120Hz is overrated. You see, I did not come to this conclusion based on one incident. This has also happened before in December of 2020 when I reviewed the Samsung Galaxy S20. And that was my first time seeing 120Hz on a phone. Now recently I was watching that video again and I realized that I didn't talk too much about 120Hz, even though it was supposed to be like this new big thing on smartphones, right? Or at least that's how I kind of remember 2020 and 2021 when it comes to smartphones, based on the tech videos I was watching back then. So I was wondering why I didn't talk more about it. And then I started to recall that when I used 120Hz on that phone for the first time, I saw no wow factor. Like, I was expecting myself to be somewhat surprised or amazed by how fast or smooth it would be. But that just didn't happen. Like, I guess for me, it didn't quite live up to the hype. And that definitely disappointed me a bit. But then I thought maybe it's just my problem because after all, I have to wear glasses since my eyesight is terrible. My maximum focus distance is about 5 inches. So, I thought maybe I'm just not good at seeing fast motion and I just forgot about it. Until I asked you guys on a community post if you've ever used a phone with 120Hz. And interestingly, you guys started talking about something I did not expect you to talk about because it was exactly the same thing I had in the back of my mind, which is the topic of this video. One of the comments by someone named Wesley said that 120Hz on a Galaxy S20 FE is not as crazy of an innovation as others may see it is. Someone else said that they can't tell the difference between 60 and 120Hz. And Wesley also said that when he used iPhones with ProMotion displays in stores, he also saw no wow factor. And that's exactly my point. So I guess in this case, maybe my eyes are not the problem. Now you will also find people like this person who says that 120Hz on a OnePlus 9 feels like quote unquote butter. Now to be clear, this does not contradict with what I'm saying because I do not disagree with the fact that 120Hz is smooth. What I am saying is that the difference between 60 and 120Hz is not as dramatic as I expected it to be. But I guess it's important to mention that so far I've used 120Hz on Samsung phones only. So 120Hz on the newer iPhones might actually be drastically better than 60Hz. In fact, scrolling fast on my iPhone with 60Hz actually feels better than scrolling fast on this phone with 120Hz. And that actually makes sense because 120Hz is just as much of a software feature as it is a hardware feature. So if a phone has the right hardware to show 120Hz, doesn't mean the actual user experience will be the same as any other phone with 120Hz. So maybe the iPhone 13 Pro and the 14 Pro might actually have that wow factor. I just can't confirm that yet. But either way, this is probably not bad news for you because I'm pretty sure most of us here use phones with 60Hz. So if you ever felt that like you were missing out on 120Hz, or if you ever felt the need to get a new phone just because of 120Hz, I would say maybe think again because it's probably not as surprising or as mind-blowing as you think it is. But obviously, the best way would be to just go to a store and try it yourself if you really need 120Hz or want 120Hz. But yeah, that's all for this video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And I recently joined Twitter and Instagram, so you might want to follow me there too. All links in the description, and I'll see you later.